Hey everybody, I'm Duuz-Diz-Din and I'm here to bring you a review of the 2020 anniversary issue of IDW's Sonic the Hedgehog. It's the second anniversary issue, 2 years of this amazing comic. And, of course, with it being the main issue going on, it's the untold tales of the metal virus. Various different moments that kind of explain certain things that weren't able to be included in the main series for the sake of time and pacing. But here, they're given a chance to shine. So, let's jump in. Our first story is actually called Big's Big Adventure. And this is written by Ian Flynn with art by Sonic alumni Jonathan Gray. You can always tell his pencils. He has a very detailed style, quite frankly. And we open up with Big and Froggy looking out over the sunset and recounting everything that's happened to them as of the start of the IDW series. And we come to find out that during various different points within the start of the series, he's always been there. With the first issue, when Sonic went running underground through the sewer system and stuff like that, he was there when we first saw Rough and Tumble, looking for Froggy around their crates. He's just been going all around looking for Froggy. Now, this kind of alludes to the fact that Big in Sonic Adventure 2, I think it was, had various different moments where he was just kind of running around the scenes in the background. And that was just a little bit of a gag there, but this is just playing off of that, with Big just having a tendency to be in weird places, like in his debut in Sonic Adventure 1. He's just out there looking for Froggy, not really interacting with the main story. He's just kind of there. Hell, he was even there when everyone was taking down Neo Metal Sonic, during the events of the end of the first story arc. So, it just goes to show that it's just a fun little moment where we get to see what the big guy was doing this entire time. However, he was also there when the metal virus first started to spread, just narrowly managing to avoid getting infected at various different moments. And he was even there at the Restoration HQ when they were bringing everyone in. Vector had just found Charmy, and then suddenly we had that one person who had snuck in with the virus and had created this massive outbreak. As it turns out, if you remember during that issue, you actually heard Big's dialogue in the crowd scene before the whole breakout happened, and we come to find out that he had actually managed to leave before all hell broke loose. And eventually he did manage to find Froggy in a pond nearby. I think it was Windmill Spiral Hill, maybe, or Windmill Hill, something along those lines, because you see Jewel running past later down the line. But, Big manages to find Froggy. However, he ends up being ambushed by a whole bunch of Zombots. And while he does manage to hold his own, Froggy ends up trying to help out, jumping on one of their heads before they can get to Big. Unfortunately, that contaminates Froggy, and as Big ends up, taking Froggy and running off, they both end up infected. And we end our story with them slowly being consumed with the metal virus. What a almost kind of dark story. a dark way to end it on. Because I love Jonathan Gray's way of just showing the slow spread of the virus as it just slinks across each panel, each page, slowly growing up from the bottom of the page until we get to this point where it's slowly consuming big and all that. It just you see the slow creep, you know where the story is going because of that, but you're still fascinated to find out how it actually happened. And a lot of people theorized back when all of this started that eventually Big would be infected, and it would be because he was going to look for Froggy. That ultimately Froggy was the one who was infected, and Froggy wouldn't infect Big. Very much kind of like how in Sonic Adventure 1, Froggy ends up getting a bit of chaos, and then, that's what starts Big's whole adventure in that game. So, just a little great bit of continuity, a very somber story, and it just really makes you hope that Big will be able to, be home and happy with his little buddy once again. We then turn over to our second story done by Evan Stanley called Darkest Hour, which introduces a couple of brand new characters to the story. And, first we're introduced to Night the Owl, a radio host who is all about the late night scene. He just, loves to chat it up with various different callers and, help them jam out to different tunes. We're also introduced to Don the Rooster, who's not a night person, owl rooster. You get the joke. If you don't, I'm sorry. But, Don is just the janitor, basically. Janitor, handyman. He does all the heavy lifting while, Knight just kind of sits around and does his thing. So they're in for yet another long night. That is until they start to receive calls, with people basically just begging for some form of help. And slowly we see the city go dark as they're about on the hill, so they're kind of away from the city. But people just keep calling in, trying to ask for some kind of help, to call in about what's going on as the metal virus continues to spread across the city. Now, noticing that, hey, something wrong is going on, Don makes a break for it. He's just like, okay, yeah, on that note, I'm out of here. While Knight ends up getting calls about what's happening. Restoration HQ calls to basically get Knight to send out information about where the survivors can go in order to get some help and all the information about the Zombot virus. And as Don is getting ready to get out of there, he hears, Knight trying to relay everything that, hey, I'll do what I can in order to, save as many people as possible. And it's through this that Don is actually given a bit of a change of heart, thinking, you know what, I'm going to help Knight, stay protected, get the word out of where these people can go in order to get some help. And he grabs some boards and some lumber and all that, and he just gets to barricading them in so they can just keep relaying the information on safe spaces so that people can somehow get away from this waking nightmare. A nice, simple story. I love the moment where you just see the various lights just going dim across the city. It's very kind of zombie apocalypse kind of thing. And I just love the fact that it's just like, even during this, dark time, there are heroes who, just use the simple abilities that they have, even if it isn't that much, to just do their part and help people out. Also, I love Don the Rooster's design. Just never would have thought that someone with those kind of colors would just, be such a interesting looking character, but it works. It works. It's a shame that he's not like really important, but I really do dig his design. Knights is okay, but Don's got a rockin' rooster design. Ooh, our next story though, Reflections by Caleb Goldner and with art by Aaron Hammerstrom. Like, dude, the art in this is incredible. As it's just all pretty much silence for the most part as we see Metal Sonic stalking through Eggman's base, seeing recordings of his previous battles against Sonic. And as he just walks through the base, he comes upon a sample of the metal virus. And he sees a recording, or I guess it's a live feed of Sonic being when he was first infected, and he just pauses for a moment, and he reaches for the liquid, and he dips his hand in, only for it to just fall off of him. And it makes you wonder, what is he thinking? What's going through his processor? Why does he seem almost upset that it just falls off of him? Is it because of the fact that Sonic will become like Metal Sonic? Did he think that maybe with that liquid he could become more like the real Sonic? What did he expect from that experience? Did he feel that it should affect him the same way it's affecting Sonic? And this is interrupted by Starline coming in and telling Metal Sonic to get out, feeling that he's malfunctioning or something, and Metal Sonic just walks off. It really just raises a lot of questions here. It's always kind of hard to tell what Metal Sonic is thinking exactly, but he's thinking, and whether or not that's a good thing, we'll just have to wait and see. Our next story ends up being a very cute moment called Eggman's Day Off, written by Sarah Garley with art by the amazing Lamar Wells. Just really a who's who of great artists on this. As, it's Eggman's Day Off. Starline is just kind of watching various, spread of the metal virus, and he sees Eggman just kind of stumbling around in the dark. He goes in order to help him out, only to find out that this is the Egg Cave, where we see various different models of Eggman's robots that he has created. It's just a place he comes to for his downtime to plot, to plan, and to play with toys, basically. And you get to see prototypes of metal variants of different characters. Just kind of having a good time for the most part, plotting his world domination. However, things are kind of cut short when we see a metal version of Dr. Starline, which raises a few questions as Eggman just hurriedly kicks Starline out. And it's just like, I wonder if this was the first moment where we get to see that the Eggman, that Starlight got to see glimpses that his whole relationship with Eggman just wasn't going to work out. We always knew it was going to happen because it's Eggman. He doesn't believe in anyone aside from robots. But maybe this was the first glimpse Starline needed in order to push him towards kind of questioning a lot of motives of the Doctor, where exactly their relationship was going to go in the end. And as we've seen in various issues that kind of led up to their breakup, it wasn't ever going to head anywhere good. And we go on to our next issue, Flock Together, by Sam King with art by Jamal Peppers. Jamal Peppers has decent artwork, but it's not my favorite in a lot of terms, especially with the colors. Seem very flat. But we have Espio and Vector on their mission to try to find Charmy and get him back so that, he's just not out there all alone. And we end up running into Charmy as they're heading back with a, shuttle of survivors. They end up being attacked by a flock of Zombot Flickies as well as Charmy. So Vector goes racing out to try to get Charmy, only for, the Zombot Flickies to just ward away Vector at every turn. So they try to use a smokescreen to scramble their sensors, and Vector manages to go in, get Charmy, and they're able to save him. And I just love the dedication and trust we see between Vector and Espio, especially with Espio. A lot of times we don't really get to see Vector in a more heroic light, especially in terms of the games. He's usually kind of played for laughs for a little bit, but usually with when it comes to Ian Flynn's writing for Vector, or just kind of anybody's writing outside of the games, they tend to portray that, Vector is the leader of the Chaotix for a reason. You know, he's not some bumbling idiot, despite the fact that more recent games keep showing him kind of as such. No, he has a lot of skill, a lot of tactical know-how, and there's a reason why someone like Espio follows Vector at every turn. That trust that they have. You know, Espio knows that Vector will get the job done, especially when it really counts. And that's very reminiscent of his first few appearances in in Sonic Heroes and even Shadow. Vector has an insight and a determination that really just draws you to him. And I wish we saw more of that in more recent games instead of him just kind of being a bit of a money grubbing kind of weirdo. But a decent issue. We didn't need to see them how they managed to get Charmy, but nice to see nonetheless. And then we come to our last storyline with Jewel the Beetle in the Catalyst. As we see on Spiral Hill, the president of the Sonic fan club comes racing to Jewel to try to find Tangle because unfortunately they were attacked by Eggman's face ship that was bringing down the metal virus goo that, the kids had no information about. So Jewel, because Tangle is away, Jewel, says that, okay, if it's just to help you find your friends, we can do that. Only for them to find, just the vice president, surrounded by the goo of the metal virus. Now, she tries her best to warn the kids about staying as far away from the goo as possible, but kids will be kids. One of the kids touches it anyway. The face ship is nearby and it's still spewing everything all around. The kids see their friends who have been turned into zombots, not realizing how dangerous they are. They try to wave them down and say, hey guys, how are you doing? Jewel tries her best to keep them out of harm's way. But once they manage to get back to the village, we find out that the two kids were already contaminated, with it, slowly consuming their hands. And Jewel realizes just how bad the situation is, especially when the face ship appears overhead. She tries her best to contact Tangle, but we know it's too late. As we saw in the issue where Tangle sacrificed herself, Tangle got there only to be ambushed by her best friend. Not the best art on this, while it could be a lot worse. Abigail Bomer did a decent job, but not my favorite story. I guess that's why it ended up at the back. It was done by Gigi Dutrix. It's a decent story, but the fact that the kids were just so dumb, that's the thing that got me. Because, Jewel was telling them time and time again, do not touch it. Don't touch it. At least with the one girl, she was in a bad position and she was bound to touch this stuff. But the other kid, he decided to be a dum dum and touched it anyway. which caused him to get infected. But touching Jewel, it was inevitable and it was sad. She tried to do the right thing and it just ended up getting her in a bad position. So it really does make you hope that all of these people manage to make it out okay. For a celebration issue, it ends up being kind of a downer with a lot of dark and kind of depressing moments where, people end up just being infected and overrun by this virus, and it just changes and, ruins their lives for the most part. And it really does make you hope that everything will turn out for the best. It definitely will, but you want to see that. You want that catharsis of seeing them make it through. But hey, what was your favorite story in this annual? Mine was definitely, it's definitely kind of a toss up. But I think the Metal Sonic story Reflections was probably my favorite, just because it was all silent and you have to fill in a lot of the blanks yourself for that story. And the art was phenomenal. There wasn't much going on, but comics are a visual medium, and when you can tell a story through with no dialogue, I really think that's something special when you have moments like that. But again, tell me what your favorite story was in the comment section below. And if you like this video, leave me a like or a dislike and subscribe and hit the bell. That way you never miss out on any of my Sonic the Hedgehog comic reviews. And until next time, I've been Duuz-Diz-Din, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye!